All right, hello again, everyone. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And I've been starting to go over the PowerPoint presentations for one of our two textbooks for the AWD1000 Web Technologies class, that book being Murachs, HTML5, and CSS3 3rd edition. I'm up to Chapter 3 of 14, and Chapter 3, which starts on page 85, is on structuring a web page. In fact, the chapter is entitled, How to Use HTML to Structure a Web Page. So here we learn how to code the associated HTML elements that we need for the documents that we're going to be creating, all right, as the semester goes on. So as far as our objectives, we've got 2 applied objectives and 12 knowledge objectives. We want to be able to code a properly structured HTML web page using HTML5 semantic elements, and we go over those in more depth and coverage as the book goes on. Second, given the HTML for a web page, code relative URLs that refer to any file in the folder structure. Start talking about that. Our knowledge objectives: describe the use of the title and meta elements in the head section, distinguish between block elements and inline elements, describe the use of the H1 through H6 block elements and the P element, describe the line break, italicize, bold, subscript, italicize new, quote, and strong, which is the new bold inline elements. Describe the use of character entities like blank space and copyright. Describe the use of ID class and title. Describe the use of div and span, and I'll have some things to say about that because I don't 100% agree with our authors. Describe the use of the HTML5 header, main, section, article, nav, aside, foot, and figure tags. Distinguish between absolute and relative URLs. Distinguish between using an anchor element and an image element. Describe accessibility guidelines that go along with anchor elements and image elements. Finally, describe the 2 types of lists that you can create with HTML. That's a lot. All right, first thing they talk about in here, on these slides at least, is a browser that shows a title and a favicon. Well, the title, if you look here, says San Joaquin Valley Town Hall, Speakers and Luncheons. That title is what goes up in the tab up here. Now, you notice it doesn't show all of it because the tabs are always typically just a certain size. Not only that, typically the more tabs you have up at the top of your screen, the smaller each individual tab will get. This favicon right here is the little image that you put in there. Sometimes companies have their logo in for a favicon. Sometimes people even manage to put a picture of themselves in for a favicon. It can be anything. It might be a product that you sell or whatever. So as far as the title tag goes, the author gives you some guidelines here. Always code a title tag in the head section. You want to put a title tag in this section because that's one of the things that search engines will look at. All right? The title should accurately describe the page's content. Should include the 1 or 2 keywords that you want the page to be ranked for. Well, I would say this one probably would be, possibly these 5 words here. San Joaquin Valley Town Hall. The title should be interesting enough to entice the reader. Well, let's face it, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're writing a website for something that's fairly boring, it may be hard. The title should be unique to each page of the website. So that's the home page, or the speakers and luncheons page, etc. Limit the length of the titles to around 65 characters. Funny thing is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 9, 30, 31. I think that the author made it 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 50, 51. If I counted right, 53. So the author did that. All right. IE note. Well, one thing you're going to find is with older versions of IE, they kind of went their own way when it came to a lot of this stuff. So as an example, if you've got versions of IE before IE probably 9, they won't probably even display a favicon. All right. Other things that you can put in a head section. So we talked about the title tag. These 3 tags in here are meta tags, and we will talk about them as the semester goes on. But the first one says that the character set that we're going to use, and the character set is basically the set that's going to be used to break down whatever we type in into the zeros and ones the computer can understand. And this says we're using UTF-8, which is an 8-bit character code. Again, it's like universal transformation format or uniform transformation format or something like that. And I believe it means you're using Unicode, a Unicode character set. The name, where you've got name equal description, content equals, all right? This is something that, again, may be used by search engines and other things, and it's supposed to be around 135 characters that explains and gives a brief description of what the site's about. All right? And these keywords, these are the words that when the search engine comes in and it goes through your website, and that's referred to as spidering your website. So when it goes through and it spiders your website, the search engine is going to go through and make sure you are using those words. All right, so I mentioned char set to you already. Code the description for each page of the website, which should summarize the contents for that page. Code the keywords with no more than 10, unique for each page. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the website that I brought up earlier in here. So let's bring that up. Let's see. We had index and we had style. There we go. And I'll make these bigger. There we go. Now, if you remember, it looked like this. Not a lot to the site. So why am I doing this? Well, the next thing that's discussed in here are H1 through H6 tags. So let's put some of those in here. We already have an H1 tag, and we'll say using an H1 tag. All right? So I'm going to literally copy this. So we're going to change it to an H2 tag, an H3 tag, an H4 tag, an H5 tag, and an H6 tag. Now, if I run it, it may or may not work, but I have not closed these tags correctly. So that's H2, that's H3, that's H4, that's H5, that's H6. I could run it now, but these things are technically, the verbiage in here is wrong. This should be my first website using an H2 tag, my first website using an H3 tag, my first website using an H4 tag, my first website using an H5 tag, my first website using an H6 tag. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, and 6, 6, 6. Now if I save this, and I go back to my web page and I refresh, which is that button right here, it says reload the page. Notice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see how they get smaller as the number gets bigger. So there was H1, and then we're going down here. Now, that might be a little hard to read, so let's go back to our CSS files, and we want all of these to be blue in color. All right, not 48 point. So we can say H1 or H2 or H3 or H4 or H5 or H6. All right, I'll save that, go back and reload the page. This won't be nearly as big now, but you'll notice that all of my H tags are now in blue. You can see that, what is it, about an H3 tag, it looks like. That's about the regular size of paragraph text. Okay? All right. Paragraph tags I've already talked about. So here's an H tag, H1 and H2, a paragraph, an H2 and a paragraph, an H1 and H2, a paragraph, an H2 and a paragraph. Typically you only have one H1 tag per web page. Now that's not a cast in stone rule, but that one H1 tag is typically at the top or near the very top of the page. And you could say it summarizes what the page is about, or at least it shows the main idea of the page. As far as SEO, remember SEO is an acronym for search engine optimization. So it says here, use the heading tags to show the structure and importance of a page. Always use the H1 tag for the most important information on the page. And as I already said, only code a single H1 tag on each page. Then decrease a level at a time to show the subsequent levels of importance. Don't use heading levels to size your text. They do have a default size built in by the browser. You can always use CSS to style and size any heading, regardless of whether it's an H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, or some other kind of heading. All right, some block elements, pre, block quote, and address. Well, let's look at these. So again, I'm just going to keep going back to the same web page, and I will add, when I add new things, I'll put them on the top. All right. What I'm going to do, it's going to look a little strange, but I'm going to grab all of my CSS stuff. Okay. And I'm going to say within pre-tags, first let me put in a paragraph here. And the paragraph is going to say, this is the CSS for this file. Enjoy. All right, now I've got my pre-tag here, and I'm going to literally just drop that file in there. Now, it's not formatted very well, so I'm going to tab this over a couple times. That's okay, so that's the pre-tag. So, what happens when we put that in? Well, let's take a look. Okay, you can hopefully see it makes it pretty small, and it also looks like it actually took it and indented it some more. Pre-tag, you typically use if you want to drop something like code or something like that in there. All right, we'll look at that in just a moment. What was the other stuff in here? We had a block quote and an address. All right, let's put another P tag in here. I'm going to say Ben Franklin. Franklin once said something like, I don't remember if it was actually Franklin who said this or not, but we're going to put it as though he did. Q for a quote. Notice again, beginning tag, ending tag are the same, except the ending has a slash before it. Early to bed. Early to rise. Makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. Or something like that. So let's go back and run this again. And it doesn't look like I saved. I did save, so why isn't that showing? PPQQ. I saved. PP. Oh, it should have been underneath this. I wanted to put that at the top. That was on me. So what's in there? Let's just move it up to the top. All right. So it should be in here. There it is. Ben Franklin once said. All right. So let's go and refresh. And there it is. Usually that is actually pushed over. I'm not sure why it's not. But you may or may not. Oh, all it did was it put quotes around it. It's not a block quote. I'm sorry. If I grab this same thing, we're going to see this later. Or if we don't, I'm just putting it in here now anyway. But if I change that from from a Q to the word block quote and put an ending block quote in here. All right, and save it and go back and refresh my page. Now you'll notice how it's tabbed over. Okay? Again, not that anything on this page is sensational. This is meant to be more just to show you a few things that are shown in here. That's all. All right, and the last one that was shown is an address. Let's say Rankin Technical College, Wentzville, info. We'll put that between address tags. 755 Parr Road, Wentzville, Missouri, 63385. In fact, if you were sending me information, it would probably go to Jeff Scott, IT Department, IT for Information Technology. So let's take a look at that. And there it is. Can't tell if it really did much of anything, and I thought it would automatically add in here line breaks, but I can put them in myself. See if that, I don't think it's going to really make it look different, except this will each of these will be on their own line. Okay, there we go. That may be italicized. I really can't tell, just taking a quick look at it myself. All right. Step it up here because I'm already at 17 minutes and I'm only a third of the way through. So let's step it up. Block elements. There's block elements and there's inline elements. These are all examples of block elements. P, pre, block quote, etc. Why are they examples of block elements? A block element will have a blank line before and after it. All right? It's in a block. An inline that we're going to see next, these are ones that are put within block elements. They don't give you a brand new line. So if you look, we've got a P tag, and notice there's a blank line after it. Then we got a pre tag, and there are two blank lines after it. All right, one for the end of the pre tag, one before the tag here. Then we've got a block quote. All right, etc. And you can see that as we go on. These are all block line elements. Block line means it'll have at least a space before or after it, or both. On the other hand, inline elements, and let's take a look at each one of these. So we've got an I, a B, a sub, a sup, and a BR. So let's look at each one of those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all the stuff we have put in here so far and just comment it out. Notice how it turns green. And there's nothing wrong with what's in there. It's just there's a lot of extraneous stuff that's showing in there all the time now. So let's put in a paragraph. This, the word Rankin is italicized. All right, let's keep going here. Oops. What other tags do we have here? We've got an I, a B, a sup, and a sub. The word college is bolded. The word subscript I'm sorry, that's superscript, not subscript. The word superscript is superscripted. the word, now we'll use subscript, is subscripted. Okay. And there was one more, I believe. Oops, there's one more. BR. Using a BR tag causes a line break. Let's end our P tag because that's the way you should be writing things. All right. So we go back here. We had a lot of stuff, and now we won't have as much. Notice the word Rankin is italicized, so that word is italicized. The word college is bolded. The word superscript is superscripted, so it's moved up. The word subscript, and I didn't end it. So let's fix that. That should have been sub. All right, so this will look a little nicer now. There, subscript is subscripted using a, well, that was a break tag, causes a line break. What if I wanted to show BR? What if I literally wanted to show the words BR in there? I can do that. And to do that, I use what are called character entities. Ampersand LT, BR, ampersand GT. All right, what did that do? This is going to put one of these tags. This is going to put, whoops, let's see. This is going to put one of these tags. If I did it right, let's check and see if I did. So see, using a BR tag causes a line break. All right. Now, it would just take way too long to go over all of these tags. Let's take a look at them. This is for an abbreviation, for a citation. This is actually typically what you'd use to put code, computer code in. The pre-tag I showed you before should keep things in the same format that they were in. This is a definition tag. I do want to show this M tag and the strong tag. All right? Those two, because it shows a shift in thinking over the years. And what I mean is this. All right, in fact, let's take each one of these, just so they stand out a little bit. And we're going to put each one of them on their own line. All right. Now, pretty soon we're going to just comment these out because we're kind of done with them. But I wanted to show you something first. All right, so now you'll notice that when I run these, you can really see everything because they're each on their own line. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. But what I want to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to comment out all of this. So right now, all that's showing here is italicized and bolded. All right, so I'm going to keep these, but I'm going to copy them. And the first time I've done it, I've got an I. The next time I do it, I'm going to use an M tag. Oops, not a WM. An M tag and an ending M tag. All right, and I'm going to say here, this is also going to be italicized. All right, and here I'm going to use a B. And here I'm going to use the word strong. All right, let's see if I did it correctly. In both cases, Rankin and college are italicized. In both cases, Rankin and college are bolded. So, why am I telling you this? The old style way of doing it was to use an I tag. What's recommended today is to use an M tag. All right, they both should do italicizing, but the M tag is more universally recognized by all sorts of devices, including screen readers for the blind. All right, and it knows how to put emphasis on a word. The I tag may or may not be used the same way on all browsers. The M tag should be. In the same way, this B tag, when you bold something, strong sends a different message technically to like a screen reader than does a B tag. So long story short, rather than using I tag today, you should use M tags, M for emphasis. Rather than using B tags, you use strong tags. Now, do people do that? No, they break the rules all the time because it's much easier to type a B than it is the word strong. All right, and just because you can do something some way, just because you should do something some way, doesn't mean that that's the way that everybody does it, unfortunately. All right, a few more things here. Let's continue on. So here's some inline elements. So there's some P tags, M tags, etc. But I've shown you a lot of these already. All right, so you can look there yourself. Now I showed you the less than tag, and I showed you the greater than tag. All right, here's a couple of other ones. Okay, so let's try one. In fact, oops, I don't know what I did there, but let's use the AMP, the copyright, the trademark, and the cent. Those four, okay? So AMP, copyright, trademark, and cent. We'll grab this paragraph that we had before, but we'll just make some changes to it. All right. So AMP, here is how I add an ampersand or amp. That's how you should do it. All right, so that's an ampersand. Here is how I add a copyright. So let's say we wanted to say copyright 2018. Then I would say ampersand copy, maybe a dash 2018. All right, let's put in another one. Here's how I add a trademark. We'll put in a trademark 2018 or ampersand trade 2018. I don't actually need these semicolons here. Whoops. And finally, I think we use the cents. $1 penny less than $1 is 99. Okay, let's see what all this does. Okay, we got the ampersand, the copyright, the trademark, and the cent symbol. Let's see what they look like. All right, here's how I add an ampersand. Here's how I do a copyright 2018. Here's how I do a trademark 2018. 1 penny less than $1 is 99 cents. The best way for you to learn these is to not watch me do it like this, but to just go and create a very simple file like the one I've created here and just start monkeying around with it. Just play around with it. You know, again, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to screw something up. So you just, you know, you remove something or whatever. And after you do all this, stuff, you add something and just save what you're working on. All right. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm on slide 21. All right, a couple more. This one you use a lot too. If you want to force there to be a space, that stands for non-breaking space. All right, here's some examples, but I've shown you many of these already. Okay, so let's look at these core attributes. I did actually show them to you earlier, but I'm going to show you ID and class right now. Okay, so we'll use, I think we still have, we comment out all those paragraphs. Let's comment back in a couple of these paragraphs. All right, and this first paragraph, we're going to say here, class equals, we'll call it color para, because we'll add a color to it. And this one, we'll say ID equals small para. All right, so what does that mean? Right now, not a darn thing. But if we bring up our CSS, now we have that first paragraph. We don't need this anymore. But instead, we'll call this will be our, what was it, small para? And we're going to say for the small paragraph, we want the font size to be, let's say, 10 pixels. In fact, let's say 0.25 ems. We're going to talk about ems a little bit later. All right. And we had the other one that was called color para. And we'll just say font color, I think it'll take purple. All right, so let's look at both of these. Well, that was way too small. So let's double check that. And here's how I add an ampersand. I'm not sure why that one didn't work. So let's check. Color para and small para. It may or may not have recognized purple. So let's make this yellow. I know that it'll recognize that. And this one, let's make it 0.5 em, so it's half that's double the size that I thought it was going to be. That isn't making it yellow. Well, you can see that made it about half the size that it typically would be. All right, it's actually less than half the size, but you get the idea. So why? Oh, it's because it's not that it's font color. I think is it just color? Let's try just color. It's not that either. I think it is font color, but why isn't it recognizing my font colors? Oops. Yeah, it is color. All right, let's try color pink here. See if it recognizes that. It's not changing the color. Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay, and maybe you've already spotted it. This is a class. Classes don't begin with a pound sign, they begin with a dot. So let's make that purple. And we'll make this 0.75. So it's almost the size of an M. All right, hard to tell, but that is purple now. And this is 7.75. So what did I do and why did I do it? Well, coming over here, I used an ID. An ID should only be used for one element per page. But if I wanted, let's say in here, I'm going to uncomment this. And let's say that I wanted a bunch of these paragraphs, a bunch of them to be purple. We'll add one here. We'll add one here. We'll add one here. All right. And I called it color para instead of purple para because maybe I want to change it. Now they're all going to be green. So notice what happens. Now, I think I've got that because I screwed up. Okay. We'll stop it right here. Now we'll start. There. All right, so let's look. Okay, now something's goofed up because they're red, they're not purple. So let's go back and look. Not a problem. Again, this is how we learn. So we've got color para, color green. Well, that should sure have worked. And it was saved. So let's look. Oh, all I said P equal color para. That should have been class equal color para. I apologize. All right, now all these that have the class equal color para, all of these paragraphs that have that, okay, they should all be making even another color. Let's say orange. Let's see if that works. So there's an orange one, there is, and there is. All right, so what I just showed you were the usage of both IDs and classes. We'll get into title and lang in just a minute. We already looked at the lang equal English. We don't even have to put that in, but we could. All right, so here we've got title equals, and they've got enter an email here. So let's try putting a title into at least one of these. All right, so we'll come in here, into here, and where we have this, we'll say, make sure I'm putting it in correctly syntactically. So just title equals, okay. So it should actually be inside of here. Okay, let's go and run it again. Doesn't look any different. See, if I put my mouse over it, I get a tooltip there that says smaller paragraph. Here I get one, or whatever one I put it on, it says colorful paragraph. All right, again, that can help with things like screen readers. All right, I've got to step it up because I'm only halfway through and I'm already at 37 minutes. I think what I'll do is I'll stop right here and break this up into two different lectures for this chapter. So I'll be back in just a couple minutes.